House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy came to Fox News. McCarthy told Fox News host Laura Ingraham that Republicans were wrong if they wanted to cut their year-end spending deal with Democrats. Instead, they should postpone the issue until 2023, when Republicans took control of the House of Representatives. Is McConnell included? She asked. Yes, McCarthy said. Why would you want to do anything if we had a hammer inside Congress? According to multiple senators, McCarthy's remarks blinded McConnell. While the Republican leader in the House has privately signaled, including at a White House meeting, that he is willing to accept a big spending deal to get the job done this year, the Republicans don't expect him to target McConnell even if he openly opposes it. Package. But as McConnell repeatedly worked behind the scenes to slash a major funding deal, effectively clearing McCarthy's decks for the next Congress, the House GOP leader became increasingly vocal in protest. Strongly against that. No, McCarthy told House Republicans about his stance on the spending package, just hours before McConnell announced Tuesday that the deal being worked on was very attractive. House Republicans were the only group to disapprove of the Tuesday night spending deal, supported by House and Senate Democrats as well as Senate Republican leaders. Institute. It was just the latest split between two GOP leaders, who disagreed on a range of issues during the last Congress. Bills to strengthen the nation's infrastructure, new gun safety programs, and increase semiconductor chip production all became law with McConnell's support and overruling McCarthy's objections. Over the past 2 months, as McCarthy flirted with the right-wing faction at his convention to win the speaker spot, divisions have continued, with McConnell supporting legislation to prevent a nationwide rail strike and McCarthy opposes it. When McCarthy warned about providing a blank check to Ukraine, McConnell voiced strong support for helping to move U.S. dollars in response to Russian aggression, a major impetus for his search for one current agreement on funding bill tens of billions of U.S. dollars to help Ukraine. And now, as Congress is wrapping up its work for the year to fund federal agencies through next fall, McCarthy and McConnell are waging a clash, underlining competing political forces in their respective conferences that both will have to work on next year when the GOP takes power in the House. That's the House-Senate dynamic, and the convention in the House, obviously, a lot of times can take place in a different place than the one in the Senate, said Whip Minority Senator John Thune, South Dakota Republican, who serves as McConnell's, said. Deputy level. When asked if he knew that McConnell felt blindsided by McCarthy's Fox News replies, Thune said, yes, adding, I think he's reflecting on what's going on out in the House, and he's, as best I can, trying to make sure he represents the position of House Republicans. McConnell, for his part, wasn't disappointed with McCarthy, saying, I like Kevin, and I'm campaigning for him to be an elected speaker. McCarthy, whose office declined to comment, pointed to remarks he made after a meeting at the White House in November, where he said continuing resolutions to fund the government is not where we want. But the California Republican also warned that a short-term patch to resolve the issue until new Congress may be needed if Democrats don't want to work with us, adding, we don't want to work with us either, this work can be completed by January. Tensions between the House and Senate are as old as the Republic itself, as the nimble House can pass legislation by a simple majority and the slow Senate can be suspended by a senator and need 60 votes to pass a movie. In the new Congress, McConnell will lead a minority of 49 seats in the Senate while McCarthy will have 222 Republican seats in the House. If McCarthy wins the Speaker position on January 3, he could lose only 4 GOP votes to pass legislation along the lines of the party. But most of the bills that House Republicans will pass this chamber will almost certainly be ignored by the Democratic-led Senate. And only the key financial issues, such as debt limit increases and government funding, must be passed by both houses of Congress and signed by President Joe Biden to avoid the possibility of an economic disaster. Those issues will be a major test of the McConnell-McCarthy alliance. Indeed, the debt limit is likely to be breached at some point next year, and a major battle is brewing to raise it, even as McConnell has long found cyclical ways to prevent default. In the meantime, Senate Republicans are eager to finalize this year's funding package in the final days of the current Democratic-controlled Congress, a move that will spark a major battle about a possible government shutdown early next year. Senator Richard Shelby, Republican of Alabama and top GOP usurper, said of McCarthy, people may have reason at this time to oppose it. They may oppose it on philosophical grounds, may oppose it on political grounds. Coming out of the House of Representatives on Tuesday, McCarthy ignored a question about McConnell's support for the emerging funding package and pointed the finger back at Democrats instead. "Well, my message is to Democrats who want to spend more," McCarthy said when asked about McConnell. "I'm not going to add more money after all they've accumulated and all they've spent, especially just in the last year." But McConnell defended the bill when asked about opposition from Republicans. "We're on the defensive," the Kentucky Republican told reporters. "We're dealing with the cards we've been dealt." He said they could boost funding for defense programs and counter the Democrats' efforts to raise funds for other domestic programs. McConnell added that the package is the best we can do given the fact that we don't control the exchange or the government. Some Republicans, however, believe that McCarthy is privately advocating for the bus bill to pass, even though he plans to vote against it publicly. That's because McCarthy, like many other House Republicans, doesn't want to deal with the threat of a government shutdown as soon as they enter their new majority. Funding the government can be a major challenge with a divided government and razor-thin House of Commons majority, where the emboldened right has made demands on the border, among other issues. But as McCarthy struggles to shore up support for the Speaker's campaign, he is facing immense pressure from his right to take a harder line on several policy issues, including spending packages. Hardliners want to wait to fund the government until the new year when the GOP House will take power and thus have more leverage in the process. As one senior Republican lawmaker put it, "Our best bet is for them to clear the deck for us and we raise our hands in protest." Even as McCarthy signaled strongly against the massive spending package, some of his critics complained about how progress was being made. Representative Scott Perry, a Pennsylvania Republican and chairman of the far-right House Freedom Caucus, said, "You can see Mitch McConnell is preparing the House right now with trillions of dollars in additional spending. Fig. Tell me something has changed here. I want to hear, but right now, I don't see any change." The GOP House leadership is formally opposing a week-long short-term spending package to extend this Friday's deadline through December 23, and Republican sources believe the leaders would also likely oppose the aggregate bill. McConnell has the ability to vote for both packages. One Republican lawmaker pointed out that McConnell and McCarthy are dealing with different conventions and political dynamics, which explains their sometimes contradictory approach. This member said, "They have different styles, different flavors in their conferences. The dynamic is different. McCarthy is fighting for her political life." The ongoing split between the GOP House and Senate, while nothing new, has been a topic of conversation among members who recently gathered with McCarthy as they outlined their new majority. "It's always been a concern," said Representative Kevin Hern, the next chair of the Conservative Republican Research Committee.